Welcome to the Get in the Fight podcast. My name is Nate Whitson, and I'm the founder of Get in the Fight Ministries and our exclusive online fight club for Christian men. Everything we do here is dedicated to helping Christian men become the men that God meant for them to be. So if you're looking for helpful content and conversations that can help you to grow and become the man that God made you to be, then you're in the right place. But before we get started, please do me a huge favor and be sure to subscribe, click the like button, and then leave us a 5-star review. Doing that helps us to reach more men who are looking for content just like this. Also, if you'd like to learn more about our mission and how to get involved or how to join the Fight Club, then head on over to getinthefight.club. That's getinthefight.club and learn more today. But without further ado, it's time to get in the fight. So let's go. Hey guys, welcome to the Get in the Fight podcast. This is Nate Whitson. I'm your host of Get in the Fight Ministries and the Get in the Fight podcast, and I'm glad that you're here. This is a podcast that is intended for Christian men who are trying to get after it. They're trying to live life bigger and better than they have before. We're fighting against apathy. We're fighting against secret sins. We're fighting against weak mindsets and all the things that keep us from living life to the fullest. In our ministry, we really think hard about God's purpose for our life as Christian men. We think about the idea that Jesus came to give life more abundantly, life to the fullest. And when we evaluate our lives as Christian men, it seems like, to me at least, in my own journey, there are many instances where I'm not in the fight. That's really kind of the name of our ministry for that very reason is I found myself at a place where I was kind of going through the motions, very status quo. Everything was fine. Everything was good, but nothing was great. I was not pushing into being the man that God meant for me to be. I wasn't pushing into greatness. I wasn't pushing myself to serve and to give this life, this one chance we've got, everything that I had. So for me, it started with this idea of like, man, I'm out of the fight and I need to get into it. And then it really started to spill over into my friends' lives and other men's lives, and just thought, there's something to this. A lot of us men feel this way, that we're going through the motions too much. And we look at eternity, and as we get older, we start to really deal with mortality and think, man, you know what? I want to give it my best. I want the rewards that could be in heaven for eternity for me, and I want to pursue that with everything I've got, not just for the reward, but for the gratitude and love that we have for Christ, for all that he's done for us. And so anyways, if that's you, if that resonates with you, then welcome, and get engaged with us here. Check out our ministry. We have a free men's community, a private app. It kind of works like Facebook in a lot of ways, but it's only for Christian men who apply and get access to it through me at this point. And check it out, getinthefight.club. Would love to have you. It's full of Christian men who are simply trying to live this bigger, better life. And if that's you, we'd love to have you. Today, we are talking about procrastination. We're talking about the art of getting things done and not putting things off. And so just as a quick maybe introduction to this conversation, I thought maybe an illustration might help you to think about, why we're talking about this and why it matters. So what I want you to do is just picture a man who is at a pool. It's a bright, sunny, hot day, and he is considering getting into the water. And getting into the water is the intention. That's the objective, right? Is to get into the pool. Well, this guy is standing at the edge of the swimming pool, and he has every intention of diving in participating with his family, and just being present and being in the pool with his family. And so instead of doing that, though, what this guy does is he kind of tiptoes around the edge. He stands there, he stares, he looks, and instead of taking the plunge, he lingers and just kind of waits. He dips his toes in. He's occasionally motivated at times, I guess, to do that, which is why he came to the pool in the first place, but he doesn't commit. As time passes, this guy is distracted by so many different things. All of a sudden, instead of jumping in, he looks over and he sees that there's a lounge chair just tempting him to go spend time there. And so he does. And instead of jumping in the pool, which is why he's there, he decides to go get on the chair instead. And then he looks a few minutes later and he sees that there's a concession stand and there's ice cream and there's drinks and things like that. So instead of jumping in the pool, which is why he's there, he goes instead and he grabs ice cream and goes back to his chair. A few minutes later, imagine that group of friends comes by and All of a sudden, he finds himself distracted by another really good thing, having friends show up, but he's now further away from the pool, which is why he came there that day. So this guy keeps delaying getting into the pool. And what he does instead is he opts for the immediate pleasures, the immediate distractions that are right in front of him. Over time, if you play out this imaginary tale, this guy came to get into the pool and to be present with his family, and instead he delays doing what he's supposed to do. And he does it because of immediate stuff right in front of him, other distractions and other sometimes even good things like friends showing up. Over time, the sun starts to set, and the guy eventually finds himself backing away because now it's not as hot. Now getting into the pool is less of interest to him. And the dude realizes that he doesn't even get into the pool at the end of the day, and he misses his opportunity to do what he came here to do. In the end, he never gets in the pool and does what he intended to do. Now, hopefully that's a decent illustration for you to see, like in an everyday way, procrastination is a lot like that story. Procrastination is when you are hesitating to do the things that you're supposed to do. You succumb to the short-term distractions, even the really good ones, like hanging out with friends, having a snack, reading a book, right? None of those things in this situation or illustration are bad, but the guy came here to be present with his family. The guy in this illustration had intended to get in the pool, and he does all kinds of other things instead of doing what he came to do, and ultimately he misses out on accomplishing the things he was supposed to do. For me, that illustration just hits at home because that is so much of our story. That is so much of what we see men do. And think about your own story. Like, how does procrastination play into your journey as a Christian man? Do you find yourself on the edge of doing the right things, but never fully jumping in? Do you find yourself succumbing to the immediate pleasures around you, the immediate easy path out? Or do you find yourself saying, you know what, I've got discipline, I'm a man of honor, I'm a man of strength, and I find more joy in doing things I don't always want to and getting stuff done? Or do you just kind of go last second, procrastinate and put stuff off? If you're a guy that just is disciplined and strong, maybe this isn't the conversation for you. But what I tend to find is that most people, most men, find themselves somewhere closer to the procrastination side than to the side of discipline. Here's what the definition is. Procrastination is the act of delaying or postponing tasks, actions, or decisions, often unnecessarily or even irrationally. Let me read that again. Procrastination is the act of delaying or postponing tasks, actions, or decisions, often unnecessarily and even sometimes irrationally. Think about it this way, like, we all know we should do certain things, right? Like, we all know we should read our Bible. We all know and intend to live healthy lives. We know we should exercise. We know we should eat right. We know we should be present with our wife. We know we should be involved and engaged with our kids. So the big question in today's conversation with you here is just, why don't we? Why don't we just do the things that we know we should do? Why do we procrastinate? Well, there are some underlying issues that, as I studied this and was looking into this, that I think could be helpful for us. And so I want to give you just 10 different ideas, and I don't think that every one will impact you or make you relate to it. But I think along the way here, you might find that procrastination is present in your life because of one of these 10. And so let's just quickly move through 10 different ideas and thoughts of why we procrastinate as men. And then we'll just kind of like recap it really quickly with some ideas about how we can maybe avoid procrastination and how do we do something about it versus waiting and delaying like procrastination does. So the first idea is perfectionism. When I think about perfectionism, I know for a lot of guys it creates anxiety. It's like if the thing isn't perfect, if the situation isn't perfect, then I'm not going to do it. And a good example for me that I think of with perfectionism is this ministry itself. Rather than waiting to know how to do a podcast. I just started talking into a mic, and I can tell you, it's petrifying. You're just like, you feel like such a phony and such a fraud. But like whoever feels like they're completely ready, to take on a ministry like this, or to do a difficult task, or to be a parent, right? Like there's so many situations where I can think that we delay doing the things that we know we should do, and we procrastinate and we put off because we're just waiting for it to be perfect. And if that's you, then I'm just going to encourage you to say, like, look, if you have perfectionism in you, it's probably causing some procrastination. And if you can start to catch that feeling, this could really be life-changing for you. If you can start to see what's under the surface and what's keeping you back, now all of a sudden you're armed with some information that maybe you weren't aware of before. One of the things you're going to hear me say a lot is the idea of being alert is so critical to a man's life. We rehearse a Fight Club prayer here in our ministry from 1 Corinthians 16, 13, and 14. And the very first prompt there is be alert. It says, be alert, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong, do everything in love. Well, that first piece of that Fight Club prayer from 1 Corinthians 16 is so, so important. What we're looking at here is this issue, procrastination. This is the topic that we're delving into to help us be better men and live better and bigger lives. Well, in order to get past some of these hurdles, we have to learn to be alert to what's going on underneath the surface. And for a lot of us guys, that's not something we're used to. It's not something we're comfortable with. We don't like getting into feelings and emotions and those things. But I'm telling you, this is like one of those like car gauges that starts lighting up in your car when it says like, hey, there's something under the surface that you need to pay attention to. Well, these 10 things that we're going to talk about are some car gauges of your life to say, pay attention to what's happening underneath the surface, because what it's doing is keeping you from acting out the things that you know you should do. What if you could get to the spot where you didn't procrastinate and you just did the hard right things in your life? That would be amazing. That could be life-changing, and that's why we're talking about this today. So, again, what's under the surface that's keeping you from doing what you know you should do? Sometimes it's this under-the-surface perfectionism, and you just keep delaying and delaying, waiting for it to get perfect rather than just getting in there and doing it. Number 2, I wrote down was fear of failure. I mean, how obvious is this one? For a lot of men, we don't want to look weak. We don't want to fail, and we don't want other people to see us fail. And so for many of us, we procrastinate because there's a possibility of failure. Well, we all know the answer is that we should never let that fear dictate our actions or our lives, and yet so many of us do. And so again, I want you to be alert. Is fear of failure keeping you from moving and doing the things that you know you need to do? Whether that's in your marriage, your workplace, whatever sphere of life that is that's keeping you back, procrastination is keeping you from living a bigger, better life. And it might be because you've got this fear of failure that you just need to push through. You just need to do the thing in the midst of the idea that, yeah, it may fail. I heard a great thing, by the way, years ago. And rather than just going, I'm going to try this thing and it might fail, we just said, let's just call it an experiment. We're just going to say, like, I'm going to experiment with podcasting. I'm going to experiment with how to lead a men's ministry. I'm going to experiment with, how to do this thing at work, or whatever that thing is that you're trying to do. Don't consider it failing, because guess what? Like, when you're doing something new, it's not always going to be perfect. It never is. So yeah, it connects to this perfectionism because we think it has to be perfect or people are going to, look at us funny, or we're going to feel like a failure. Look, get past that. It's not always going to go right, but that's called learning, not failing, right? So get rid of this fear of failure. You're going to make mistakes, sure, but when you're just experimenting and growing, that's a way, way better way to live life than not doing the things you're supposed to do and procrastinating and putting them off. So number 2 is fear of failure. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the show so far, and if you are, please do me a big favor and simply get engaged in a simple way. For you, that might be clicking the like button, or maybe subscribing to the show. For others, it may be commenting on a show that really stands out to them, or maybe it's just copying the URL and texting it to a friend, or pasting that into your social media, or sharing it via text, whatever it is. all of those things make a huge difference for us, and it helps us to reach more Christian men who are trying to live bigger and better lives. So, number one, thank you for being a listener, and thank you for being a part of this community and part of this show. We appreciate it more than you know, and we appreciate you getting engaged and helping us out. Thanks so much. Now back to the show. Number three, lack of motivation. I know for sure this hits many of you. There are many of you listening today, I'm sure, who procrastinate because you just don't have a clear sense of purpose or motivation for something that you know you need to do. It's like, I know I should do it, but I just don't really feel like it. You know, you're not compelled to move on this thing. And so you just delay taking action. You delay doing the hard right thing. And I'm telling you, if you're lacking motivation, then what I would suggest that you do is process it out loud with other brothers. Find other godly men and say, here's this thing that I know I'm supposed to do. Maybe it's, just working on being a better father. Let's just talk like that. And you just know, like, I'm dropping the ball here, and I don't have a clear purpose. I don't have a clear vision of what to do, whatever it is. And you're missing that motivation to go. I'm telling you, if you will process that out loud with other men in your life, you will probably think of it different. You will probably get past some of that lack of motivation and all of a sudden feel inspired to move. And I hope that you will. So lack of motivation keeps a lot of guys stuck in procrastinating, and we need to be aware of that and learn to push through it. Number 4, I said, was difficulty of task. And this was just the idea of sometimes, many times, we procrastinate doing something because we know it's going to be hard. One of the things that we talk about here, one of the principles is that we are men of discipline. I do the hard right thing over the easy wrong thing every time. And the reason we talk in the affirmative like that and we rehearse that principle every day is because tasks are difficult. Being a man is difficult. Challenges are what they are, right? Like anything worth having is going to be difficult. And so we need a different kind of mindset. The weak mindset says, I'm going to procrastinate. I'm going to push this off. I'm going to delay doing this until I absolutely have to. The strong mindset that you want to live out of is, yep, it's going to be tough and it's going to make me better. Jocko would say, good. I like it. You know what? This difficult thing is going to make me better. So let's go do it and let's take it on. And that's the approach that we want to take. Don't put off and procrastinate just because it's difficult. Number 5, time management. Why do we sometimes procrastinate as men? It's because we suck at our calendar, like controlling the calendar. We suck at managing our time. And for many guys, you get really stuck with it. Poor management skills like this lead a lot of people to procrastinate. And so we don't know how to prioritize our tasks. We don't know how to estimate how much time it's going to take. And so, we get so bombarded with saying yes sometimes to everything, or not knowing how to fit it into our schedule and make it a priority at the right times, that for a lot of guys, that we just push it off. If you need help with time management, there's all kinds of books and resources and ideas out there. But one of the things that we talk about here is in our habits. Like we have 8 habits that we look at. One of the 8 habits of our Get in the Fight ministry has to do with pre-deciding. And I think this could help you like crazy when it comes to time management. The second habit of Get in the Fight ministry is pre-decide what matters most, right? Sometimes I think this time management issue is that we have so many things that feel like a priority that we can't get anything done. And what do? We procrastinate, we delay, and we put it off. And then what do? We don't like that feeling, so we run to distractions and things that feel good in the short term, right? It's going back to that pool illustration in the beginning. So how do we take that on? Pre-decide at the beginning of your day or the night before. For a lot of guys, they do it the night before and say, okay, tomorrow, here's the top 3 things. I'm going to pre-decide that I'm going to exercise at this time. I'm going to read this many chapters or for this many minutes. I'm going to eat like this. I'm going to do what I need to do over here at work, whatever it is, right? But shrink your list of what's actually a priority and then specifically state when you're going to do those things. If you could do that, I think you will find that you will procrastinate less and you'll get more done and you'll feel more like a man, right? So time management, learning some skills like that are things that could really change your life and help keep you from procrastinating. All right. What number are we on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 6 was distractions that I wrote down. Distractions kind of go back to that pool analogy. It's like, I know, like, let's say that you do what I just talked about. Let's say that you work on your time management and you say, okay, my top 3 priorities are this, and here's when I'm going to do it. And all of a sudden you get there to that thing, and this is supposed to be the time that you get it done. And now all of a sudden you get a text that takes you off course. Or you start scrolling through your phone and there's some really funny stuff on Instagram and you get stuck and you're there for an hour, right? Or there's a game on that night. And so you do that game, watch that game for 3 hours, which all of a sudden you found 3 hours to do, but you can't get this other priority done. So many guys find it challenging to resist distractions. And it just takes a disciplined man to get past that. Again, when you decide what matters most, pre-deciding says, look, I know there's going to be distracting things that are going to come up. I know there's going to be tempting ideas to get veered in the wrong direction, but I'm going to get these 3 things done today, no matter what. The more you make that a habit, the better you'll do with fending off distractions and procrastinating less. All right. The next thing is decision paralysis. I've told this story many times in different settings, and it just always makes me think of this. When I think of analysis paralysis or decision paralysis, I think about my wife at like Cheesecake Factory. There's like, I don't know if you've ever been to a Cheesecake Factory. It's one of those menus where there's, 10 pages of options. And it's just so much, right? She just struggles to decide what to do. And I think a lot of men are like that. It's kind of like, again, we've made everything a priority. And it makes decision paralysis like so much more pronounced, right? When you say everything matters, then you put everything at the same level, you're going to struggle to make decisions. And that leads to paralysis, or in our conversation today, it leads to procrastination. So again, it goes back to some of the same basic principles, pre-deciding and knowing how to manage your time and saying, okay, I'm going to do it at this specific time. And I'm going to make sure this gets done at this time or in this way. The more specific you can get on when and where and how, those kinds of things, the better you will be. The other side is when, again, you start to decide not everything has the same level of importance. When you make everything have the same level of importance, it really gets easy to get paralyzed because everything feels like it's the same level, but it's not. You've really got to analyze what your priorities are, put them in the proper order, and then make sure you engage the most important ones first. I think when you do that, at least in my own experience with this, when you begin to live that way and do that, you actually find momentum comes in your life. You start to feel like, okay, that felt good. Like I'm checking off things, and not just anything, but like important things. And there's this energy and this momentum that comes when you just start to check them off. The opposite is also true though, isn't it? When you delay, you feel more anxiety, more stress, more pressure, all those things. So you either build momentum positively or you build it negatively. And sometimes it just starts with prioritizing, labeling what exactly you're going to do, and then going and getting it done. All right. Number 8, overcommitment. Juggling multiple responsibilities or commitments. For some people, again, it kind of goes with this time management issue, is you procrastinate because you've put too much on your plate. I think maybe one of the most important words you can learn to use, if this is kind of that under the surface issue for you, is no. This is really hard for some of us. Procrastination comes because we say yes to too many things. It kind of goes back again to this idea of like, you can't say everything's important. Certain things are more important than others, and it's just true. For example, it is more important that you spend time in God's Word than you do probably anything else. That needs to move way up your list. You need to be present with your kids if you have kids at home. That's your job, and it's more important than almost everything else. It needs to move way up the list. When you know what's way up the list for you, when you know what your priorities are, you have to have enough mental courage and strength to say no to really good things. And a lot of us struggle to do that. You find yourself going like, I'm just so busy. Listen, that's a excuse that we use all the time as men, and we've got to learn to change that. We've got to learn to say, like, some things are more important. And that means that if I say yes to one thing, I've automatically said no to something else. Well, when you say yes to everything, all of a sudden you're saying no to some things that really are priorities in your life, and you end up procrastinating, delaying, and not achieving things that you need to achieve because you're overcommitted. So really look closely at the things that you're committing to and figure out, like, what do I need to say no to more often? You're going to feel like a jerk sometimes because it's like people want to hang out and you're like, man, I would love to, but I've got to do devotions with the kids and I can't do it at the same time, or whatever the thing is, right? When you get clear on your priorities, you're going to have to say no to certain things to make space for the right things. All right. So that's number 8 is overcommitment. Number 9 I wrote was just lack of structure. Many men don't know how to structure routines that build to, again, more momentum. And it just, when you do that, when you don't have a lack of, like, when you do have a lack of structure, I should say, it just leads to problems in your life, and you're just kind of like chasing the wind. Guys that don't have good routines and specific objectives and purposes to achieve on a day-to-day basis really struggle to get the right things done. And again, the momentum builds in the wrong direction when you don't have good structure. You're just going like, hey, somebody like distracts you, like, hey, do you want to come do this? You're like, yeah, sure, let's go do that. Well, you're not giving any thought then to the routines of your day when you just are carried by the wind like that. When you get distracted easy, again, even by good things, you're going to miss out on some other more important things. The best thing I think that you can do is have certain flexible structures in your life. And what I would tell you is this. Things for me changed a lot when I started to wake up earlier. I built a structure where I said, I don't know how to do all the things I need to do. I don't know how to work a full-time career as a financial advisor and be a great husband and father and take on this brand new ministry idea and be great at that, or give them at least my best at that. How do I do all of that knowing that it's going to take even more? Well, I had to build in some new structures. I had to take on some new things that just honestly in the beginning were like, I thought I would never do, like namely getting up early. I've always been the guy that said, like, I can't get up early. I don't sleep good throughout the night. And so to wake up early just wouldn't work. Well, what I started to do was push the clock back 15 minutes or 10 minutes in the beginning. It was like I made the win really small early to build in a little bit more structure where I had a little bit more time. Well, once you start getting up 10 or 15 minutes early, it's no big deal. Everybody could do 10 or 15 minutes. But that little bit of structure led to momentum to go, you know what, it feels really good to do something kind of hard, like wake up when I don't want to or have to. But man, I got into God's word a little bit better, and that felt good. And guess what? I said, you know what, I could probably do another 10 minutes. And I just kind of kept creeping this backwards. And then there was a time change where you lost an hour or whatever. And I'm like, I'm just going to keep it. I'm going to stay here. And eventually I got to the spot where rather than waking up as late as possible and feeling as groggy as I did, I got up early and got my butt out of bed at 4:30 in the morning. And it's not always easy, but the structure of waking up at 4 or 4:30 has given me so much routine and opportunity to do more important things, so I have more time. I'm just telling you, if you're going like, oh, I could never do that, I get it. That was me. I'm not telling you you have to get up at 4 or 4:30 in the morning to do great things, but I will tell you this. Success leaves clues, and there are many men out there that you probably look up to and respect the most that have some structures and routines that probably start with waking up earlier than you, that you might want to pay attention to. Establish some routines that give you more space to do the things that matter most, and it will lead to momentum and help you to stop procrastinating on things that you know you need to get done. Guess what? You only got 24 hours. That's all we all get. And you might have to sacrifice one thing, sleep, for something that you want more than sleep, which is being a man that God meant for you to be and doing the things that you're supposed to do. Lack of structure might be a part of the undercurrent of why you're procrastinating. Number 10, avoidance of unpleasant work. right? This kind of goes along with the idea there of just difficulty of task. And I know it kind of feels redundant, but I just want to remind you of this. Like many men procrastinate when they think that something is going to be emotionally taxing. Like, for example, it's unpleasant for us guys to sometimes have to go, I don't know, play Barbies. That's a tough one for me. Like, I just don't want to do that. Or it could be a challenge maybe just to go talk to your wife and just let her spider web around this conversation that you're just like, oh, I don't have time for this. And yet it means a lot to her, right? It could be as simple as that, where that just feels unpleasant. And we wouldn't want to say it that way. But the reality is, like, we don't have a lot of patience for things like that. Sometimes it's more like it's unpleasant because it's, again, a difficult task, or it's something that you just know, I just don't want to have to go do this. I don't want to go have that hard conversation. Let's talk about that one, for example. If there is a relationship that needs mended, and it's going to require you to go have an unpleasant conversation where you've got to say, hey, man, you hurt my feelings, or we have to address this issue, or we need to talk. Again, most of us are like, dude, I'm just going to avoid that. I don't want to have that unpleasant experience. And so we don't. We procrastinate doing the right thing. But guess what? The issue never gets resolved, does it? So if you want to live a bigger life, live a better life, be more of the man that God meant for you to be, you're going to have to stop avoiding unpleasant work. You're going to have to start taking on some of these things that you don't want to. And in doing that, you will become a better man. In doing that, you will become more of the man that God meant for you to be, because you're a man of honor and discipline and strength. And now you will also find that you are a man of joy, because it feels good to do those hard right things. It just does. It's not pleasant. So stop pushing it off. Just know this is part of life. This is a part of manhood. You can do it. You can do all things through Christ. You can do all things through community, where you can say, hey guys, I got to go have this hard conversation. I don't want to do it. Will you check in on me and just make sure that I did, and see how I'm doing, right? How awesome is that when you can rely on brothers to help bring you through, to be more of the man that you want to be. All right, so those are 10 quick underlying ideas that just come to mind when I think, like, okay, what makes me or you procrastinate? And we want to just go back and just kind of like really analyze which one stands out to you. Maybe it's perfectionism. Maybe it's fear of failure or lack of motivation. Maybe it's not taking on difficult things, or maybe it's a time management issue for you, or lack of structure. Maybe for a lot of you, it's just you've overcommitted. Whatever that is, here's what I want you to go back to. 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 13 and 14. The very first prompt there is be alert. Be alert to what's happening under the surface. You're the guy who's standing at the edge of the pool, and the objective is to get in. And yet you keep delaying, you keep waiting, you keep getting distracted, you keep putting it off. And now you have to ask yourself, why? Why am I doing this really? Well, it may be one of these underlying 10 ideas that we just talked about. So ask God to give you wisdom. God, I know I need to start getting up early. That's the objective. And I keep pushing it off. I keep delaying it. Would you help me to see what's going on? God, would you speak to me? Would you lead me? Would you strengthen me to do the hard right thing? Help me to stop procrastinating this important thing so I can be more of the man that you want me to be. Help me to be alert. Help me to see what's going on. Examine my heart and know if there's any wicked way in me. Examine my heart and life and reveal to me what's really going on so that I can get better. That's a great prayer. Start praying that and asking the Lord to give you wisdom. The second thing is be alert to it, and then ask a buddy. I keep saying this, but this is the power of a community like Get in the Fight's app and community that we have here. Again, getinthefight.club. Come check it out. It's a free community to join for Christian men. But you need men in your life that you can process these things with. Number one, you'll find out that you're not so crazy. You're going to find out that you're not the only guy that struggles or has feelings that he doesn't like dealing with, or lacks motivation, or deals with perfectionism, or any of these things. You're going to find out you're in really good company with a bunch of screwed up everyday dudes like me and you. It's awesome. It's powerful. So ask the Lord to reveal what's going on, and then ask other men in your life that know you, whether it's in this community or maybe in your church or maybe your small group or your friends, I don't know. But find godly men that you can just say, hey, there's some important things I need to take on this year, and this is what I need to do, and here's what's keeping me back from it. Would you walk with me in this journey? Or what do you see in me that maybe I can't see very easily myself? Now, that takes some courage, bravery, whatever you want to call it, acting like a man, to be honest like that. But I'm telling you, your life will be better. That's the point. If you want to live a bigger, better life, learn to be vulnerable. Learn to engage the Lord honestly and bring your brothers in and be alert to what's happening under the surface. Number 2, I just said, if you want to overcome procrastination, you've got to change your mindset. So many men are weak mentally, myself included at times. Again, like, I'm not saying this because I got it figured out, but I know that what I'm working on in me is to have a predetermined mindset to get stuff done, to not let my emotions make decisions for me. When you look at this list of 10 things that keeps men from doing what they should do and procrastinating instead, it's really centered around an idea that you're letting feelings and emotions and thoughts control your actions and behaviors. And that's the wrong way to live life. So if you want to get past this because you hear this conversation and think, yeah, I could be better as a husband, as a father, in my workplace, whatever it is, whatever God's directing you in this conversation, predetermine that you are simply not going to wait. You are not going to procrastinate. You are not going to delay. And when you get a mindset that's like that, you will see that it's going to spill over into other areas of your life in really cool ways. When you learn to just be a man of action, a man of go, a man of, I'm going to make an aggressive move, I'm not going to do a passive, wimpy move, it'll change your life in ways that you just never expected. Simply because you put a growth mindset in place, a go mindset in place, whatever you want to call it, but you're going to be a man of action, and you're predetermined that when there's a hard thing to do, you're going to do the hard right thing over the easy wrong thing every time. That's one of our principles of being a man of discipline. Number 3, I just said, if you want to overcome procrastination, just do it. Just stop thinking. And again, we just kind of mentioned this here. It's kind of a similar thought, but it's just, you've got to make discipline be in charge, not feelings or thoughts. We get so wrapped up in our mind, where, like, if I let myself think too long about it, I will absolutely come up with a reason to keep me from moving. I've got to stop thinking and just do it. Like, for example, when you wake up and your alarm goes off and you're practicing getting up 10 minutes earlier, 15 minutes earlier, an hour earlier than you're used to, the very last thing in that moment that you're going to want to do is put your feet on the floor. But if you can build discipline to just put your feet on the floor, you will eventually wake up, and it probably won't take you as long as you think. Like, yeah, you might be groggy that first week or two, but you'll get past it. You'll be fine. You're a freaking grown man, right? Just do the thing. Stop thinking about it. Are you supposed to go to the gym? Go to the gym. Are you supposed to have a hard conversation? Go have a hard conversation. Stop thinking about it and just freaking do the thing you're supposed to do. Again, like, I'm speaking to me, dudes. Like, I feel like I'm like yelling at you here. I'm not yelling at you. I'm not. I just know my life's better when I do that, and I think yours would be too. All right, so wrapping this up, there's 10 things here. If you need to, go back and listen to this, get a piece of paper, write it down, and really just analyze this. Like, where are you getting stuck? Be alert to what's happening under the surface. Understand that when you can do that, when you can see that car light come on and go like, okay, there's something happening here. It's a feeling, it's an emotion that you're feeling. Pay attention to those things. Learn to analyze those things and be alert to those things. That's what scriptures are teaching us. You want to live a better life? You want to be living a bigger life? If you want to be more of the man that God meant for you to be, it starts with learning to be alert to things that you haven't trained yourself probably to be alert to. Be alert and then do the thing you're supposed to do. This is a life of discipline. I'm a man of discipline. I do the hard right thing over the easy wrong thing every time, regardless of how I feel. Now, again, we're never going to be perfect in these things, but the more you start to do those things, the better you're going to be for it. All right, that's it for today's show, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for being a part of this community. Check out, again, our free community. If you're a Christian man and you want to get better, we'd love to have you. Let's talk about it. Apply for it today. I'll set up a time to actually chat with you via Zoom and say hello, introduce myself, hear a little bit of your story, share with you next steps. But we would love to have you. Go to getinthefight.club. You can click any of the join buttons and learn about all kinds of things, our coaching programs. Sign up for our newsletters. Again, you can listen to any previous podcasts there, all kinds of stuff at the website. It's pretty cool. But that's it for today. Appreciate you guys. Don't procrastinate. Do the things that you're supposed to do. That's what it means to get in the fight. So let's go. Hey guys, thanks so much for being here today and listening to the show. Please be sure to head over to the website at getinthefight.club. And before you go, if you haven't already, please subscribe, click the like button, and leave us a positive 5-star review. It makes a huge difference whenever you do. Have a great day. Go get in the fight.